I once again welcome everyone to the TechCircle Roadshow presents Get Ahead with Airtel. I would like to call upon Mr. Ashwin Modga, who is the research head, Mosaic Digital, to please start with the proceedings.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Louder. Nothing from this side. Louder, please. This side. Good evening, that side. Thank you. I am Ashwin Modga. I am the head of research at the HT Media Group. And today, along with Airtel, this particular event in this particular space, I think I wanted to begin with a very sincere note of thank you to each of you. The room looks very full. Thank you so much for that, braving the traffic. We are right now on the third edition of this particular showcase of Airtel and TechCircle, and we've just finished our Bangalore and Mumbai editions, and we are now in Delhi. And again, I think Delhi has been the fastest to fill this overall room. Thank you so much, each of you. I wanted to sort of begin with a very short introduction of why we are doing this, right? And when Airtel, specifically Harish, who all of you will meet today, had given us the brief, one of the things that was mentioned was, Airtel's own story of how they became this big enterprise and still continue to work as a startup, with especially in terms of innovation, etc. Right? And they wanted to take this opportunity to meet with both existing customers again, build that engagement, and talk about the kind of innovation that they've been building over the past few years, and that you would be seeing outside this room in the demo area. I think each of you, please do take time to visit the demo area. And essentially, this particular segment that all of you are sitting inside basically represent, you might not know it, but essentially represent the next wave of growth in India. You are basically from organizations as a group that will sort of bring in that second layer of accelerated growth in terms of job creation, in terms of economic growth, in terms of overall spending, and so on, right? And I think, first of all, big hand to your own self for being part of this particular group. Right? I didn't want to take too much time, but today I wanted to show a couple of slides on what this group means for India in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, right? Where are exactly the investments happening? What are your peers and your colleagues sort of working on? Wanted to take this opportunity to show you how you should be able to benchmark yourself in the kind of investments that are going on, right? So let me begin with something that we called as the seventh sense, right? What we did, HT Media also has a research arm under it, and what we've done over the last couple of years is basically looked at all the market numbers in terms of IT spendings from organizations like yourself, and every case study of a particular implementation that was done in order to accelerate, either a revenue channel or accelerate a GTM strategy through technology. We've assimilated around 220, 250 case studies of actual implementations from across India. And when we combined each of these, right, and when we looked at this particular market insight, we looked at each of these case studies, there were some very interesting insight that we got. And this, I sort of hope today that will sort of, become the benchmark for your own investment mind map that you would want to create in the next couple of years, right? So essentially, we are looking at some of the CEO priorities for organizations like yourselves, right? Restoring customer trust post-pandemic has become one of the most important aspects. Employee satisfaction, in order to create more efficiency, is going to become extremely important. Demand revival with aggressive GTM. If GTM previously, pre-pandemic, you were okay with 10 days of a product being manufactured and then finally being supplied to a customer, it's not the same anymore. There is more competition. These 10 days with technology will be reduced to, or will be reduced by 30 or 40% moving forward. Rethinking and re-strategizing IT. IT transformation is no longer the terminology, it is actually IT transformation that leads to business outcomes or business transformation. Every IT investment across organizations like yourselves is being attached with a very specific business outcome, right? It could be in the form of productivity increase across your employees, it could be efficiency increase, but there needs to be a business outcome that would be attached to it. These are the major CEO desk priorities in terms of the next 2 years or so. On the same line, we have business recovery priorities that CEOs also spoke to us, right? We're looking at minimizing risk related to compliance. There have been so many policy changes, right? All of you are aware of multiple of these policy changes that are happening quite frequently, and this will continue to happen. So risk minimization related to such policies is also being looked at as a specific outcome. But what I wanted to point out across all these slides is, when I compare all this data with last year or pre-pandemic, one of the most important things that has come down for us is revenue and market share focus. Right? It is still amongst the top 5, but in the top 5, the focus has for just revenue and market share slightly reduced. What we mean by this is that most digital outcomes are currently in the immediate term looking at creating those productivity showcases, which will in the longer run lead to larger revenue and market share. Right? So that's one of the biggest takeaways post-pandemic from the set of organizations that we are currently looking at. Right? And where will they continue to focus on? Rethinking product diversification efforts. A lot of companies, especially in your space, in the past couple of years have pivoted from one point to another, right? They were making, let's say, 2 or 3 different products related to one specific market. Suddenly, they're making those 4th and 5th products now, maybe in sort of new markets. So that pivoting and portfolio diversification has become one of the most important aspects as well. New channels to reach customers, again, right? Your growth, whether in terms of revenue, whether in terms of customer base, will continue to depend on organizations being able to create new channels, right? How is your digitalized CRM strategy looking like? Is it looking at the right customer segments and so on, right? So these are some of those points I wanted to sort of note. One particular example that I was recently giving in one of our first roadshows, there was the chief product officer of a very fast growing chain of jewelry stores out of Bangalore. And very interesting insight that he had provided. Jewelry has been an extremely traditional kind of business, right? I mean, not really a lot has changed over the last 100 or 200 years, right? But the chief product officer mentioned to us his investment map, and it looks amazing. They're generating leads on a digital platform. They're managing those leads online. They're having customer conversations on Zoom calls and enabling selling of traditional products like jewelry from an online channel. And they're looking forward to be able to build those digital marketplaces and not just be that physical approach to jewelry selling, right? Now look at this particular example and try to draw conclusions towards your own organization, right? Lot of areas to grow, lot of areas to look into in terms of these large revenue channels and so on. So next couple of years, more than on just the revenue focus, the focus would be on expanding your portfolios, expanding your customer base, and trying to innovate in the kind of approach that you've had over the last 50 or 60 years and what you would be having in the next decade or so. When I was talking about the 220 use cases or case studies of actual implementations and market numbers, what we also wanted to try and showcase to you was your peers or your colleagues in other organizations in the IT decision matrix. What are they exactly investing on, right? Someone might talk about IoT, but where exactly is IoT being implemented across the value chain of your company, right? Is it on the R&D side where you're still looking at the design part? Is it on the manufacturing floor? Is it towards the logistics and supply chain? Or is it usage of how your product is being used by a particular customer? Are you building analytics on that side? So what we did was to create that value chain on the x-axis. We start with IP creation, which is essentially research and development. Then we have product procurement, which is essentially the manufacturing process. because there are multiple companies outside of manufacturing here. Then we have the sales cycle. It could be marketing, it could be the sales lead, qualification, whatever it is. And then we have the fulfillment journey, which is the logistics and supply chain part. And then you have service efficiency built onto that product. And then finally, usage analytics of how that customer is actually using your product. Is he using it and increasing productivity, etc.? Do you want to take that productivity back to other customers and showcase? So if you look at that as a value chain, and the investment of that particular IT solution itself, this case study that I'm talking about, what is the financial sense of that particular investment on the y-axis, right? What our results showcase is, in this particular large growing segments, we have cloud investments happening, we have the second biggest in terms of IoT investments happening. You'll see that both cloud and IoT are largely focused on the manufacturing side of things and the sales cycle side of things, right, currently. But as we move towards 2026, in the next 3 or 4 years, you'll see that cloud will be the fastest towards extension of usage experience and so on. IoT will become very fast, moving towards the right side, towards the fulfillment journey, in the logistics side. Multiple different examples of how IoT is being put to use. I mean, Harish will be speaking after me and he'll be showcasing such examples of what sort of IoT solutions are being implemented. Right? Cognitive, which is essentially predictive analytics or sort of advanced analytics, not just talking artificial intelligence, which is still very slow and low. That predominantly is in the side of the research and manufacturing side of things, and not really heading towards the right side. The right side, why I'm focusing so much importance, I'll come to that in a second. But the two new things that I want to talk about, especially across the similar organizations, your own competitors and so on, right? First is the belief and the want for better security. I think we have Karthik in the room from Lavel Networks. He'll be giving examples of how even very fast but small customer base companies are also investing on some of the security solutions. We have the Chief Security Officer, Information Security Officer of Airtel with us today. He'll be providing such examples of how these security investments are going on. Right? And most importantly, the next biggest investment area is the work or collaboration related solutions. Right? And this has become extremely important. Right? Workforces are now not just distributed outside of your office, they're largely mobile also for most organizations, right? And not sitting in one place, it is in multiple different areas, multiple different places. How do you bring in efficiency with stable connectivity and network that you are able to provide inside an office, right? So how do you extend your own IT infrastructure outside of your office virtually so that all of these employees efficiently can collaborate and work together? Some of those solutions will be one of the most interesting things that we will look at today, right? What I wanted to summarize with all of these investment areas is that the blue ones are something that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years or so on. The green ones are things that we will see, we've been seeing in the last 1-2 years and now extending in the next 3 or 4 years. But all of them together will focus on that acceleration of each of your own organizations. And something that we've seen is, when you look at finally Airtel's portfolio outside, it actually fits into this investment strategy, right? Basically validating what is happening on the market, where the demand is arising, is also shown as innovation today outside in the Airtel showcase. So that's what you'll probably notice there. On the left-hand side of things, right, on the IP creation side, when someone is investing in security, someone is investing in IoT, what are the organizations looking to drive? They're looking to basically change their operating models, right? I was speaking about how companies are forming new revenue channels or being able to pivot their product portfolios, right? So that operating model changes itself is something that will lead as an outcome for these investments towards the left-hand side of this particular graph. On the right-hand side, once you start investing towards the customer end of the value chain, one of the biggest outcomes that will be driven, as part of that particular investment would be efficiency. The moment you start moving towards the right side, efficiency related to your own employees, efficiency related to supply chain, logistics, all of them will be an outcome of the investments towards the right-hand side. And finally, once you get in towards the customer side, process engineering. Essentially, this is where some of the new age startups are sort of successful, right? They focus on the process itself, they digitalize that process. Every data point of their customer comes back to them in order to get more value out of it and so on. So this particular graph today, I wanted to take time and showcase to you that when you're thinking about digital investments, this could be a good, great starting point for someone who's beginning on their transformation journey, right? Where across the value chain should you place your money in terms of IT investments? So that's what I wanted to summarize with today. Hopefully we'll have a great session. We have, after me, Mr. Harish Ladda, the CEO of emerging businesses at Airtel, will be giving a keynote showcasing examples of some of the actual on-field innovation that Airtel is doing for their customers. After that, we have a fireside chat. We'll have Mr. Varun Singla, the CISO of Airtel. As part of that, we'll have Mr. Abhishek Biswal, the business head of Airtel IQ, which is the collaboration suite that I was speaking about. We'll have Karthik Madhava, the founder and CTO of Level Networks. We'll be talking about network as a service, which has become extremely important. It's something that we'll continue to see. We'll have Mr. Rama Sambandhan, the head of mid-market Airtel Business. He'll be the moderator for the fireside chat. He'll sort of be probing into what sort of challenges would organizations face in the future and what sort of solutions are various companies developing for those. And then we'll have a panel discussion moderated by myself. We'll have Mr. Alok Shukla, the product and solutions head. Now Alok comes with years of experience of having done such transformative efforts at multiple organizations, both big and small, right? And please take time out to pose any sort of questions related to your own organizations to Alok. Alok will be the right person today in order to handle all those queries. You'll obviously meet him outside as well, but we have a very short 2-minute Q&A panel session after each of these firesides and Q&A sessions also. So please make use of that time asking questions, posing questions. And then closing remarks by Sachit Malhotra, who's the circle head of Airtel Business here in Delhi. And that's all from my side today. Hopefully I've not taken, I'm minus 2 minutes late, so I'll just jump off the stage. But again, my sincere thank you to each of you for taking time out, coming here. With that, Harish, if you can have you on the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me at the back? All right, okay. So first of all, like Ashwin said, thank you so much for taking time out and spending the evening with us. As I was speaking to some customers outside, one of the customers was asking, saying, what is this event about? And I said, while we will speak about technology and talk about, what Airtel is doing in the space and how we can help our customers, I think it's also an event to get together. None of us have kind of spent time together for the last 2.5 years in one room, not only talking about technology, but really how our businesses are doing, what are the challenges we have, and how can we help each other to kind of ensure our businesses move on to the next stage. A lot of products that you will see today and what we will talk about, I think because we are headquartered here, you have the who's who of Airtel from a product side who will be on the stage later in the day, in the evening. But a lot of products that we have been built in conversations with our customers to really see what a problem is and how do we solve that problem, right? And that's how we'll approach today's conversation as well. But broadly, for some of us who don't know, and maybe I was one of the guys who didn't know much about this about 12 months ago before I came to a role. But if you look at Airtel Business, Airtel Business as part of the large ship, which is Airtel, is about 20% of Airtel's revenue in India already, right? If you look at the top 500 companies, we more or less serve each of these companies one way or the other through our different business solutions. We have relationships with 1,200 plus global carriers. On the SMB side or emerging business side, which I run along with my team, we have 1 million customers who use one or another of our services. And I don't only mean the mobility services, a lot of data and IoT is what I'm talking about or referring to. More than 2,000 enterprise/government are our customers on the Airtel Business side of things. And if you talk about Airtel as an organization, including mobility, we have 440 million plus of consumers who kind of use Airtel services, right? So that's the large, umbrella. There's a large mothership that we're talking about of what Airtel is really about. We go back to Airtel Business, right? And let's just talk about a few examples of how Airtel has been working with organizations to kind of help them grow their business, and in some way also manage their costs. So we'll look at examples, right? So most of us have started to use food delivery services over the last few years. A lot of us didn't like their IPO, but that's an investment part of the conversation. But a large leading, like we say, a food ordering or delivery platform uses Airtel services, right? And what do they use it for? What is the problem they're trying to solve? Is trying to ensure and maintain the privacy of the number of their delivery partner and the customer's contact number, right? And they do it using an Airtel solution. Now the question is, how can it be useful for me, right? Now if some of you are an organization which are into manufacturing of, say, appliances, right? You have your service engineer going to meet a customer, right? What do we end up doing? We end up sharing the service engineer's mobile number with the customer's mobile number with the service engineer. Are we protecting the privacy of our service engineer's number as well as the customer's number? May not be, right? Is there a reason to do it? Could it be leading to revenue leakage for you as an organization? It's so very easy for the customer to save the number, call your service engineer tomorrow and say, why don't you come in the evening and get things done, right? So some of these applications are very, very useful even for organizations which are not as large as maybe this food aggregator service, which you can deploy. And these are all pay-per-use models, right? So it's not a large capex investment that you need to do upfront. Talk about Airtel IoT, which, we power most of the cars which you see as connected cars today in India. All of them are kind of powered by Airtel IoT platform. Not only that, there are very real-life examples that we can talk about today. All of us go to a retail shop close by. We see refrigerators there where, ice creams are stored or, got a party going on already? Okay. So where you have a lot of refrigerators where you have cold drinks stored, you have Cadbury, etc. being stored, right? So the basic question that was being asked was saying that, how do I know that the refrigerator is switched on? I've given the refrigerator to the retailer, but how do I know it is switched on? पता चला कि वो बंद करके दोपहर को घर सोने चला गया, and the products have, are kind of, not in the condition in which they are supposed to be sold. So your consumer experience goes bad, right? So customers are using the IoT solution to check what is the temperature that is getting maintained in the refrigerator, how many times has the refrigerator been opened, and in one use case also, is the refrigerator positioned in the same place where it was supposed to be positioned? Or has the guy taken the refrigerator home instead of keeping it in the retail outlet? Okay. So a lot of these solutions are being powered by IoT, where you can really track and trace where your assets are. And this solution is not only about the SIM that you put into the box which kind of sits on the machine, but it's about one single panel from where you can see what's really happening with the device. You can see, you can GPS locate where the device is. You can see whether the network is available on the SIM or not. You want to reboot it, you could reboot it over the air without sending your technician to the ground, to the device where physically it's located. Okay. So that's what IoT does for us. You shut this off? Okay. Airtel managed Wi-Fi solutions. I don't think there's an office today which does not use managed Wi-Fi, right? Or which does not provide Wi-Fi to their employees or even guests or customers who come in there. Airtel has implemented a managed Wi-Fi solution for one of the largest QSR chains in India, 140 plus locations. where we are able to provide different logins, a separate login for the employees, for the billing engine and all the applications being used, and a separate login for the customers who come into the QSR restaurant, right? We can do it for your organizations, we can do it for all your offices that you kind of have across the country, and we can kind of bundle it together as one solution along with the connectivity that you need for your office. Airtel Secure to protect the business, you know, and Varun is here today, and you know, Varun will kind of talk about it a little bit. Airtel as an organization, we said we have 440 million plus consumers, right? We need to protect the data and maintain the privacy of information that we have for 440 million customers in India, or people in India, right? So we have built a security solution which kind of takes care of all of this. We have a fantastic security operating, you know, SOC in Manesar, which manages all the threats that kind of happen or the attacks that happen on Airtel, right? We are extending the same solution to our customers. So whether it is protecting your websites from a DDoS attack, or whether it is kind of securing your entire infrastructure and providing SOC services. Airtel SD-WAN solution, you know, a lot of customers we are seeing are now migrating from a MPLS-based solution to a SD-WAN solution for all the right reasons: security, aggregation of bandwidth, right, and having visibility of the network. I think Airtel has been one of the first organizations or telcos who's kind of been able to implement such a large-scale SD-WAN solution across 3,500 branches of a leading financial institutions. We have Karthik with us from Lavelle, who will not only talk about SD-WAN, but beyond SD-WAN as well, in terms of how you can you know, run your networks in a much more efficient manner. And last but not the least, the business on which Airtel was kind of built up, our mobility business. And this is another example of how you solve problems. This is one very large, fast-growing education platform. What they used to do is that they would give tablets to the students who would kind of sign up with them, and then the students would kind of at least find a way to put a broadband connection onto it, or go back to a retail outlet, put a SIM onto it, and kind of ensure that they can use it. Instead of that, we were able to sign up with a solution with this company where we say, we will give you SIMs, so you ship the tablets along with the SIMs to the students when they kind of come on board, and the students are kind of ready to go from the first minute or the second minute that they kind of assign the tablets, right? It also helps, of course, for organizations like yourself. When you get a GST billing, you save 18% if it's a company-owned, company-paid, and there's a way for you to kind of manage all the numbers that you have. One of the another use cases which I had interesting was from a large customer who is a helmet manufacturer in the country, right? So historically, they have never used a company-owned, company-paid collection. They gave employees, you know, some amount of money and said, get your own phone, manage your own number. And what they've realized, with the challenge that you have on talent churn today, right? So their production guy would leave, their marketing head would leave, and their sourcing guy would leave. And their contacts or their vendors would keep on calling those guys on those numbers, because that's the only number they had, right? And when employees leave, they take the number with them, which is not the case in COCP. So the COCP, the number remains with the company. So even if your production head change, you can give the same number to your next production head, and your suppliers will continue to call on that number. So a lot of contacts and connects, which are kind of important for the organization to grow, kind of stay within your organization if you kind of implement something like, or use something like COCP. From a cost perspective, it doesn't make a big difference, but I think from a long-term sustainability, growth, maintaining confidentiality of your vendors and information, I think it's a very big difference it makes to the organization. So the way we run our business, we classify organizations in three parts. There are large customers that we serve, which are the OTTs and the carriers of the world. We have put some names here. There's a set of enterprise customers that we serve. And of course, emerging is a segment that we talk about. We have a couple of logos here, but like I said, we serve more than 1 million customers on the emerging side of the business. Now we saw a lot of use cases of what outcomes we are able to drive for our customers, right? This talks about what do all those outcomes rest upon. So when you look at all those outcomes, we can very easily see that Airtel is kind of an end-to-end technology enabler, right? Whether you talk about connectivity, IoT, we've kind of spoken about mobility, cloud, cybersecurity, collaboration, right? So any of the solutions that are required for an organization to grow and kind of have the best, give the best customer experience, I think Airtel is kind of a one-stop shop to deliver those solutions. Where does that come from? All the investments. Airtel has the largest network of interconnected data centers through our Nextra brand, 12 core DCs and 120 edge data centers. It's not a very well-known fact, but it's a reality of the Indian market. We are the #1 IoT player in the country with a 46.2% share. If you look at the latest Frost & Sullivan report, this share is about 48.5%. So anything that happens in IoT in the country, we win 50% of those cases, which means that 75–80% of the business that happens, customers consider us, and we are winning in more than 50%. So really the competition is nowhere close to it, simply because, not only because of our connectivity, but because of the platform we provide, which helps you know the status of the device that is on the IoT network. 11 million plus devices is what we already have and are managing on our network. And every month we are adding more than 500 to 600,000 devices to this list now. Our world's first integrated C+ platform, Airtel IQ, we manage 130 billion transactions through this platform. Some of you were seeing the kind of a demo of it outside. We have Abhishek here, who's the architect of this product. Very, very interesting, one of the fastest growing solutions for Airtel today, across the organization. 300 plus customers is what we already have, and it integrates video, voice, messaging, contact center. And I think Abhishek will talk a little bit about it, when he comes on stage. We spoke about the network operating center. Airtel basically runs the network of the country, whether it is government, whether it is defense, whether it is enterprise organization, whether it is OTT or carrier. You expect Airtel to have the best-in-class NOC, and that's really, what we offer. I think Ashwin spoke about cloud and how it's picking up. I think we firmly believe that the future of the cloud is not necessarily public cloud, but it's a hybrid cloud. There'll be some applications which you will keep in your own office devices. There are some applications you would potentially put in a data center on a co-location basis, and there will be some applications which you will end up putting on the cloud, right? So Airtel is kind of fully invested in all these three things. So we have the Nextra as a data center, you're looking at co-location or putting your own servers, or even want Airtel to manage them, or you want to burst to the cloud, whether it's any of the three hyperscalers. I think Airtel has the team which will kind of help you build this entire strategy out. And like we said, I think everything is secure by design, right? Whatever we are selling today is what we are using today to protect the privacy of 450 million consumers in India. Right? So you know that what you're getting, even as not really an enterprise customer, but a customer who wants to be a very, very large customer, is on a pay-per-use basis at the same level of security that an enterprise customer would get, and which is deployed in Airtel, and you know that it works well. So in conclusion, why Airtel? I think we are one partner who kind of takes you through the whole journey, from providing you basic connectivity to even working with you to say that how cloud, in which situations can cloud be really helpful for you, and which part of cloud will be helpful for you. It helps you on the customer experience perspective through managing IoT, as well as through the CPaaS solutions that Airtel offers. Convenience and leaner and cost-effective options. If you look at stuff like we spoke about COCP and the examples we spoke about, ensuring confidentiality of the data and the numbers of people and your suppliers that is there, Airtel kind of fulfills that need. There's a connected infrastructure. Ashwin spoke about 5G. I think that's a very, very interesting stuff. We'll see as the spectrum auction happens and how the rollout kind of accelerates. But if you look at the entire bunch of solutions that Airtel offers, right? I think it is much, much beyond what we think we know about Airtel, which is connectivity and mobility solutions, right? So I hope today I was able to give you a good view on how some of these solutions are being used by our customers, and the infrastructure behind it which kind of supports to make us to help us do this successfully. Thank you so much once again for your time, and I will talk to you during the evening. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Could you stay back for a couple of minutes? Let's just check if anybody has any questions. I think
Okay.
my bad on the marriage sounds, but despite a lot of warnings, people still decide to get married. Any questions in terms of something that you want to ask Harish?
Ashwin, my team is not allowed to ask questions, okay? Just ensure that.
Where is your team sitting, Harish? Any questions? All right, I'll pose the first question. I have a couple of goodies to be given away. How many customers does Airtel have in their IoT business? Any guesses? You want to ask a question, please?
Okay, sir.
I'll
My
get
name
to
is
that
Manish
one.
Agarwal. So actually, in your presentation, you have said that you are also offering 5G solutions, but 5G has not yet started. I mean, it is not yet rolled out. So I mean, it is for the future, or is it working on a B2B basis? So why you are saying 5G? Because it.
So look, I think what I was referring to is that we are ready with solutions which we can launch on 5G once the spectrum kind of gets auctioned, right? So we are ready for it, but the solutions can only get launched once the spectrum kind of gets auctioned. So I'm with you. Alok, you wanted to add something?
So what is the timeline for the commercial launch of 5G in India? I am asking as a layman because already recently test bed has been launched, and we are hearing about the trials are taking place both on the retail as a retail customer and also for the corporate and the wholesale customers. So what is the timeline we are looking at for the launch of 5G in India on a commercial basis, commercial launch? Because we have been hearing about it for last 2 years, but nobody is telling us that's secret thing or confidential thing.
So we are also starting to hear about 6G now, but I'll let Alok answer about 5G first before we get to 6G.
Thank you.
No, sure, sir. I think very a question that crosses, I think, most of the minds. So one, I think while we are not representing the government of India here, but I think this year is the year when I think this will happen, and we'll have 5G live, the auctions and the rest of the stuff. Obviously, it's a government procedure. There are auctions and big things that are happening, but the way we see it, this financial year, it will happen. That's one. Talking about where we are on, I think, 5G. So one, most of the solutions that we have and that Harish talked about are 5G ready. That's one. So if we talk about private LTE networks, if we talk most of our data solutions, etc., they're all 5G tested and 5G ready. That's one. And that's why it's just a question of enablement of the spectrum. Also, in terms of the test spectrum in some of the pockets, and you would have seen some reports in the media around this, I think with some of the players, Bosch and a few other people, we are developing and working already successfully on a lot of actual live 5G use cases. Obviously, the actual spectrum or the actual implementation at scale would happen only after the auctions are there. So for example, the automated ambulance thing that you would have heard, and there was a recent media news, that's actual 5G spectrum live. So in some of the test labs, etc., they're there. What 5G is referring to here is that most of those use cases, development, testing, is all 5G ready, if that answers your question. Yeah, thank you.
Harish, my name is Nautiyal from Spark Technology. I want to know, do you have some solutions like a mid-sized company, like we are evaluated distributors, and solution like 450 crore kind of company, so we don't have too much high budget for to reach the customer, other things. But most of your solution, what I look forward to the large mid-sized enterprise or large enterprise, we are the small enterprise. So is that kind of solutions you are providing, and what are the roadmap, how you move forward for that area? Thank you.
So, Nautiyal Saab, thank you for asking. So I think let me go back a little bit and talk about from a Airtel business perspective, right, we address 3 spectrums of customers. एक तो सब बड़े हो गए, OTT, careers, आप बड़े-बड़े नाम ले लो. Second, we spoke about enterprise, which is your top 3,000-4,000 customers, right? Then what we're talking about today is the next, the SMB customers, which we define as anyone which is between 100 to 600, 700, 800 crores kind of a revenue, right? That's exactly the segment that is in this room today. And as Airtel, about 1 million SMBs are already our customers using one solution or the other, right? Now, I know a little bit about your business because I was part of that industry earlier. So let me kind of relate some of these solutions to what you can use, right? So one of the things we said you could use is your COCP connections, right? So you could easily have a company-owned, company-paid connection so that you get the benefit of GST, of course, but also the fact that if your sales guy leaves, right, and the customer calls him, he's not selling services to that customer from another partner, but you kind of maintain the confidentiality of that information, one. The second is that all your warehouses, you must be having multiple warehouses in and around Delhi. How do you connect all those warehouses? If you need a secured connectivity, right, Airtel will provide you that secured connectivity. If you're looking at a lease line, Airtel will provide you a secured lease line where we convert even your Fortinet box or even the Cisco router which is sitting at the end of it into an OPEX model. So you don't need to spend money on CapEx on that one. If you have a requirement of a lesser bandwidth and you don't need a lease line, Airtel launched a solution for SMBs which we call the Airtel Office Internet. What does the Airtel Office Internet do? It's basically a broadband, but we have ensured that there is security inbuilt into it. So whether it's a DNS security or endpoint security, both of them are integrated into it. We also give you a static IP and a couple of other things, a Blue Jeans video conferencing as well as a Google license, right? So from a SMB perspective now, you pay me an X amount of money on a monthly basis and I ensure that the connectivity that you have is fully secured. So this is not necessarily a solution only for a large enterprise, but this is basically even for a SMB, you're converting your CapEx to OpEx and you don't need to pay maintenance and management charges of everything, right? These are just 2 examples of what you do, right? The third example again is that, how do you do your marketing, for example, right? If you are working with 800 to 2,000 partners within the NCR territory to kind of sell your solutions, how do you do marketing to them? One way is through traditional marketing, say, मैंने email भेज दिया, मैंने SMS भेज दिया. The other way to look at it is use the CPaaS platform of Airtel, where you can exactly track कभी कौन सा WhatsApp भेज रहे हो, कौन सा SMS भेज रहे हो, when did it get delivered. You can ensure and then you ensure the security of your data as to whom are you sending those SMSs to. Right? It's not sent by a person, but it kind of goes from a platform, so you can track it fully. And all of this is on a pay-per-use basis, right? So there's no CapEx involvement. So I think all of these solutions that we are talking about are basically SMB solutions. We give you examples about how some of the larger guys are using them, but we kind of try and relate back to what you can use it in your even in smaller organizations spread across, like I said, 5, 10, 20, 30 locations, right? Managed Wi-Fi, for example. All your warehouses, you would be having Wi-Fi. Right? So instead of you investing in endpoints, you could give it to Airtel and we can do it everything on an OpEx basis and manage it for you as well. So you can kind of put that cash back in your business and kind of grow that business. Does it help? All right, okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I am Madhav Choklani. How distant it is from conversational AI service automation and how much it is in their roadmap?
Abhishek, would you like to pick it up? Abhishek is our product manager for CPaaS. No better person in the room than to kind of answer this.
So I think on CPaaS, right, in terms of your ability to converse with your customers, we are fully ready. Internally, we've already developed a product around understanding the conversation and coming up with at least high-level buzzwords. For example, we used to have about 150 trainers or audit agents at our contact centers. We have 5,000-6,000 people at our contact centers. We used to have 150 agents. Today, we don't have any. We can listen to the conversation, figure out where there are challenges in the script. Is there adherence? Is there quality of the agents up to the mark or not? Right. So essentially what we've done is we've deployed the technology we built internally first, and then figured out if this is ready to go to market or not. Right. So from a roadmap perspective, this product is actually in our roadmap. We will launch it this year. It's not. I mean, we've not started selling it yet, but it'll be out. I think by Q3 we would be in the market with this product.
I think,
Thank you, Ashwin.
Harish, thank you so much. We have a few more questions, but we'll park them for some of our later discussions. But thank you so much for your keynote.
Like I say, some questions are best answered over drinks, so I think we'll take those questions at that time. Thank you, Ashwin. Thank you, friends.
So we now have a fireside chat, and if I may invite Rama to come up and sort of call upon your other guests and begin the discussion. 1 second, let me get those. I'll go. Mr. Varun Singla, hi. Abhishek, please. Karthik, you're here. Please. Mike. क्या है कहाँ
and we are delighted to have you here. So before we begin, I would request the people on the stage to take 2 minutes in introducing yourself. We will start with Varun.
Yeah, thank you. This working? Okay. I clearly had more hair and a beard, so well, good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. My name's Varun. I'm the CISO at Airtel. I have responsibility for protecting everything that Harish talked about, and I have a fabulous team that obviously we work with. Delighted to be here, and thank you all for coming.
Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek. I've been at Airtel for about 4 years. I used to head the B2C product before this role. So I've recently taken over this role of as a business head of Airtel IQ, and I've been a product and a technology guy for several years, right? So it's exciting because Airtel IQ as a product is a very rich technology product, and we are essentially using technology to simplify some of the communications that happen, and that's what sort of excites me around this product, right? So happy to be here, and look forward to catching up with a lot of you towards the better half of the evening.
Hello everyone, so my name is Karthik. I'm the founder and CTO of Lavel Networks. We are a 7-year-old startup. My background is in products, especially networking products. I've been building products for a couple of decades, slightly more than that now, both from a telco perspective and an enterprise perspective. Lavel is now an affiliate of Airtel. We work together, and we have had some, I would say, more than decent success selling network as a service in the Indian market, starting from, I would say, even the largest of banks and financial institutions to smallest of companies. And I think there was a question on, is this applicable to smaller enterprises, right? Honestly, if you leave out the revenue part of it, it's what differentiates a small office from a larger one, in my terms, is number of users connecting to the Wi-Fi. So today, with the digitization space and the technology space, whether you're small or large, you have the ability to reach customers anywhere in the world. I think that's what we are enabling with network as a service that we'll talk about today. Yeah, happy to chat, happy to, I'll be around, so more than happy to have a technology and a business outcome conversation with regard to technology. Thank you.
Thank you for a brief introduction. So thank you for the brief introduction. It's not working. So I'm Ramasambandan. I lead the mid-market for Airtel Business. I've been interacting with some of you outside the room, and I've had some questions. So I thought I will switch sides today. I'm going to leave the badge of Airtel and join you as one among the customer, be an IT person, CISO, CXO, and maybe throw a few questions to the panelists out here for the next 15-20 minutes. So we share the space with some of the fast-growing enterprise customers in India. This pandemic has pushed each one of us to have a sustainable, inclusive growth and not take a defensive measure in terms of investments on the IT side, right? So while they've done all of this, I think in everybody's mind there is some few challenges in terms of cloud adoption, security, and few other challenges in terms of the hybrid way of working. See, during pandemic, people have started moving to their hometowns. They've started working from whichever place they are available with, and it's no more a compulsion to come back to office, right? So even companies encourage hybrid way of working. So in all these adoptions, what we see is that reaching out to customer engagement, typically in the SME mid-market space, right? When you want to generate leads, like he said, I'm a small enterprise, and I want to reach out to certain customers. So experience deteriorate, right? So I'll point this question to Abhishek, and I'll start with you. That how do you think this hybrid model and reach is going to work, and what are the key challenges, and how do you see this? We can address customer experience much better from your point of view.
See, I think the bedrock of technology investment, right, essentially is for profitability. And I believe you can break all investments into two large groups. Right? One group is around growth, which is essentially increasing revenue. The other group is around cost or bringing down cost or making the organization more efficient. Right? So if you really look at technology, on one side you have technology leading to automation leading to efficiency, and hence reduction of cost and more profit. Right? On the other end, you have technology leading to consistency of experience, hence better word of mouth and better acquisition. Right? So if you apply this framework, irrespective of where the organization wants to work from, whether you want to work from the office, you want to work from home, these pillars need to be consistent, right? And these pillars need to be around efficiency. So if you look at, so when we got into lockdown 2.5 years ago, Airtel used to sell 70% of their recharge, right? We have, at that point of time, we had about 350, close to 300 plus million customers, right? We used to do 70% of our recharges through offline retail stores. We have a million retail stores across the country. We used to do 70% recharges. On the third day of the lockdown, we panicked because none of those recharges happened. Now imagine us losing 3 days of revenue. It's a large amount of money, and in telecom, what you don't make, you actually can never get it back, right? Because we are a day-to-day business. Our investment has gone in. The network is always on. What revenue we don't make, right? So essentially, it's profit erosion. Using technology, we were overnight able to move everything digitally. And we did investments in how to train people to do credit card purchase. See, remember, if 70% of India is doing offline recharges, a large part of them don't know how to recharge online or how to do an online transaction, right? We came up with a very simple model. It was called Superhero, where we said, listen, if we can find one person to do 10 recharges for their friends and family, we will be home. In the pandemic, in the first lockdown, our recharge digital volume went up to 65%. Just because of a simple intervention where we created a model where you can do recharge for someone else. We created an incentive model also, that when you recharge for someone else, we'll give you a percentage so that you don't feel like you're doing it for nothing. Now this was powered by a platform that we've built internally, right? It was for us to find out who are typical superheroes across the country, right? So we went into rural India, looked at who has a smartphone in rural India, because essentially that's the point of sale, right? Who are the people this individual talks to in Airtel, which becomes his circle of influence? How can we enable this person to download an app and do this recharge? Right. This is essentially, if you step back, what did we do? We used operator intelligence, which we actually have on 440 million customers. Where they are, who do they talk to, what kind of handset they have, what is the kind of affluence they have. Right? And we effectively marketed to each one of these saying, why don't you become a superhero? We will give you an X percentage commission. And you can recharge for your set of friends. By the way, you can also press this button and remind your friends that you can recharge for them. Now, if I find a cool word for saying what I did, we created a very small hyper-local marketing engine where we created an entrepreneur. We gave him a tool where he or she could market to the catchment area around them. We also helped them find the catchment area around them. Right? Now, this is hybrid for me, where I created entrepreneurs wherever they were. Now, if I dial back to a lot of you who run organizations which have local businesses, which have branches, any B2C business, this is essentially what you could do. You could empower the branch manager to say, half a kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers around my branch, I want to market my services. I know when it is best to market, because in Bombay it is better to market on Saturday, in Gurgaon it is better to market on a Sunday, so on and so forth. Right? Give them the tools to do this, enable them so that they can be the real ROI owners of that cost. So a very simple example of how we used one, operator intelligence to find out who the customers are, enable them with a software product, and run business and get back to the profit that we were losing. So that's one example.
So Abhishek, the details in what you said, so it's largely is applicable for an enterprise customer or a large corporate, right? But for enterprise like us, right? What we generally do is we pick up a PRI or a SIP channel at our office, and then there was an out call. So the entire data of, let's say, marketing or any campaign lies in-house in the system, right? But in this hybrid model, how does it help? So I don't have investments. I've already made the investments on a captive setup, right? So if I move, what are the other features which I can use?
So you actually asked me two questions. So I will take the first question first, right? None of the products we have are colored using enterprise, medium, SME. They're not colored. They're products. They're built for customers and usage. I have used this hyper-local marketing product for a preschool brand in Gurgaon with 5 branches. I'm sure every small business owner does more revenue than them. So it doesn't matter who's using the product, right? Eventually the product is a digital product. It is modular. You can use 1 license versus you can use 500 licenses. I think the product scales for everyone, right? Let me take the second question, which is, as you are trying to give more empowerment to your, let's say to your end store manager, right? You want to protect the data. You don't want the store manager to have access to that customer data because there is high attrition today. We've come up with very simple products, right? You can essentially build a call masking service, which is what we heard one of the leading food delivery companies do. If you notice, the food delivery executive in a day does 10 deliveries. He's essentially a store manager who talks to 10 customers on that day. Customer is brought in by the brand, saying these are the 10 people that you have to interact with and provide some service. The service is of course food delivery. You have a number which you can call, it will hit the end customer. The end customer can call the same number and hit the agent. So this is the smallest unit economics of a very large organization using the product. Now 10 deliveries a day is all I need to support and improve the experience on. And repeat this over 10,000 employees doing it 365 days a year, which is the 5 million deliveries that that leading partner does every month. Right? So that's how modular each one of the products are. Right? I'll give you another interesting example on the flip side. We had a small BFSI customer, right? And they had a challenge with their collections. They were running into a couple of crores of collections that they had to do from their customers. They built a very small 30-seater contact center, saying this contact center will do outbound calling and remind these customers and ask them to pay. Yeah. It's a problem a lot of us face today. Right? What happened? They bought a PRI line. It was a 022 number. Incidentally, it was a Mumbai customer. After a few weeks, people stopped picking up this 022 number. Truecaller also started calling out the name of the BFSI, and every customer who didn't want to pick did not pick up the phone. These guys had come to us saying, can you help solve this problem? What did we do? We did two things for them. One, we introduced something called a mobile number in a outgoing PRI line. So instead of a 022 number, it said 98200 1234, whatever at the end of it, right? The call pickup went up by 20%. By the way, if all of you look at your missed call list, you'll notice that landline numbers are the ones which are majority in your missed call list, and you always typically pick up a mobile number thinking it is a friend that you forgot to save. It's like, it's a girlfriend that I did not save the number of, must be trying to call me, right? So let me pick up the phone and see what this is, right? So mobile number got us one more bump. The second thing, this customer told us, listen, I only have 30 seats. I don't want to add any more seats. Can you do something where I don't have to add a seat, right? So we introduced a IVR bot, which called out the customer, read out the amount of money that is due, and the customer could also do an on-call payment using their UPI. All they had to do was enter the 4-digit UPI pin. So assume you get a call, right? At the end of the call, we tell you that, sir, 300 rupees is due. Would you like you paying using this UPI? Sorry, using your UPI connection. The amazing part is UPI is linked to the mobile phone that you are actually calling. So it's very easy for us to pick up what is the UPI handle behind it. Is it funded? And all you need is the customer to enter the PIN. Essentially, the 70-80 rupees they used to spend on the call because of the agent calling went down to less than 5 rupees. And it's a very small 30-seater contact center. Now there's one more thought I want to leave with you guys, right? What you heard me say is what you will hear 5 other vendors tell you. Saying we can do this, we can build out a contact center, we can give you automated IVR calling, we can give you OBD calling, etc. Right? And I'm sure all of you have come up with these solution providers. Why are we different? We built all of this technology, and I'm not shy in saying this, for Airtel first. And that is what gives us that edge, because as a telco, I can do a mobile number display. Nobody else can do a mobile number. As a telco, in the earlier example, I have hyper-local data of 400 plus million customers. And these are some of the niches that help us win in this space and help us be the partner of choice. And those are my 2 cents on this.
Thanks, Abhishek. So I'll point the next question to Karthik of similar use case, right, from voice to data. We heard some of them have multiple offices, warehouses, which means that they must be running multiple internet links, right? Some of the challenges which I heard, which I'm going to share it with you, is so availability of network, because not everywhere all operators are feasible. That's number 1. Number 2 is manageability of those links, right? And also visibility to the IT person in terms of saying which network is up, which network is down, how do I really manage the network. As far these enterprises grow, this becomes a key challenge, right? So, and you're from the leader from the technology space. So what do you see? How do you see this entire connectivity piece moving towards?
Great question, Rama. Actually, let me give an example. We work with really one of India's fastest growing logistics player. They started really small. Warehouse planning to commissioning time used to be about 6 months, right? So they would plan a warehouse, then take up space, then connectivity used to come into picture. By the time connectivity comes and the warehouse is commissioned, it used to take about 6 months. Right now it's about 45 days. That's the outcome we are talking about. And if you look at it from a connectivity upwards perspective, right? So one is, of course, it's hybrid connectivity. I mean, you are connecting to your data center, you are connecting to cloud, you are connecting to some SaaS application. So one, it's a non-homogeneous connectivity plus network you are talking about. That's one. Second one is, as you grow, your location spread out. So you're actually having to deal with getting connectivity from a national provider who can cover, plus a secondary, if at all, if it's available, from a national player or from a local operator. Now imagine the complexity of dealing with it, right? So making the network available itself is a challenge. On top of it, you need to configure, manage the network. On top of it, you're talking about actually observing what is happening in the network. On top of it, you want to secure the network itself. Probably you need to go to a huge IT shop to actually manage this, or build your own army of IT folks spread across everywhere if you want to do it yourself. Now take the analogy of the cloud. I mean, you didn't have to build the data center. You don't have to manage the rack space. You don't have to manage the power, cooling, server, etc. Now, if you can simply consume this as service, right? As simple as, this is my address, this is my PIN code, I want this location up, right? And all I want to ensure is I have connectivity. Typically, 2 kinds of connectivity coming in because I want redundancy. Plus, I want prioritization of applications that I'm talking about running on the network. Second, I want to make the network itself available. So one is connectivity and creating a network on top of it, which is actually available. So you're talking about network uptime, so that that location is up. Your business productivity and the location being up, the network being up are directly correlated, right? If the network is connected, so can that branch office connect to your applications. So second element of the whole thing is your network uptime. Third comes your performance. Obviously, it's not a flat world. Some applications are mission critical for you. Some applications are not so mission critical for you, right? So how do you ensure your critical apps get the maximum share of bandwidth, they get prioritized on your applications, and can connect to wherever you need to connect them to? Overarching all this is security, right? Is it secure? Because you are on a network, you could be attacked. It could be as complicated as a ransomware or a virus that is actually doing all kinds of things that you don't want to take. I mean, let me give an example of in fact, one of India's fastest growing QSR chains. It's a very small chain. And what I heard from the IT shop was really shocking. I didn't expect this. They said, Karthik, do you actually support a data leak prevention tool? I didn't expect this from a 100-store retail chain in India with a 2-member IT team who have no clue about I mean, who have all the clue, but they don't have the wherewithal and the resources to manage such complexity. And when I probed further, his question was very simple. He said, I change my menu every month, right? What I'm observing is, since last 3 months, a week before I announce a new menu, my menu gets leaked to my competition, and 3 days before I launch, I actually see that item on my competitor's menu. 100 location, I won't call it a QSR, a restaurant chain in India, which is rapidly expanding, right? Imagine the complexity of implementing a security solution across the board with a 2-member IT team. I won't even dream of it. Now, can you consume it as a service where you pay based on outcomes, pay based on the threats that are actually being prevented, pay based on outcomes in terms of connectivity, in terms of uptime, in terms of performance, in terms of security. That's what we are talking about here in terms of when we talk network as a service. It's not about, I have a PIN code, I want a link there, right? It starts with a link, maybe a couple of links, to ensuring your network is up, ensuring your network is performant, and also network is secure. So that's the chain that we are talking about.
Right, so you also brought out an interesting point in terms of the security. So I'll point this question to Varun. Varun, during pandemic or post-pandemic, in some form of the other, almost all enterprises have moved to cloud-based or a SaaS-based application, right? And Karthik also, we heard him talking more about security on the network layer. So 2 challenges which he raised and which we also hear from the customers is that, one, talent to manage, or the right resource to manage that, and also that how secure it is to use, to go for a cloud adoption or any hybrid workways, both in terms of voice as well as data. What is your view on that?
Yeah, security, I wish I had good news, but with everything that happened with the pandemic and the amount of digital channels that have been created, security has become a real issue, right? Let me just give you some statistics. The number of ransomware incidents have gone up by 200%. The average cost that it takes to protect or remediate against a ransomware incident or a data breach is, anywhere for an enterprise is anywhere upwards of 10 crores. So it's a real challenge, but I think there's a silver lining to all this. And the silver lining has been that there's been so much investment that's happened in the security world. It's just amazing to see, at least over the last 5 years, there's upward of $20 billion that's getting invested in building out new security products, new security tools, to a point where I think there are more security tools today than there are problems. And this is a real issue that we have to face on a day-to-day basis. So I think the silver lining in all this is security is no longer a technical problem, in my opinion. There is a solution to everything that we need to do today, right? We talked about network as a service. We talked about all the things that Harish talked about. Security is now getting embedded in everything that we build, everything that we consume, and that's made the life for all our customers a lot more simpler. The conversation is now shifted to talent, actually, right? How do you manage it? And that's where, a lot of the challenges that the industry is facing. There are about 2.5 million jobs in the cybersecurity industry that are open today. It makes my job secure, which is great, but that's where the challenge is, and I think a lot of the enterprises and the companies are facing those challenges, and that's one of the things that we are looking to solve as well.
So one other follow-up question is, like you said, security is key and there is a lot of ransom attacks. So is it really affordable for medium corporates to invest on each of these security line items? Or is there some other solutions which you can offer from the Airtel side? Because it's not possible to keep investing on each of the, for example, brand protection, EDR, a DDoS attack, like you mentioned about the ransomware. So it's very difficult as a CapEx investment for every organization, right?
Yeah, you're right. Look, we manage one of the largest networks, one of the most critical infrastructures in the world. 40% of the commerce that happens in India happens on Airtel networks. You know, we talked about IoT as a service. We have Airtel Payments Bank, which is again, you know, a fintech that we protect. And, you know, the team that we have within Airtel is doing this day in, day out, right? It's protecting all this infrastructure. And you know, we thought if we can do this internally, just like with everything else that we do, we offer that as a service. So Harish talked about the SOC. And that's one of the services that we are offering to our customers as well, wherein you don't necessarily have to go invest in all these products. There are a lot of the capabilities that you can just consume off of us today. You know, everything, and if, you know, depending on the size of the organization that you are, everything from solution design, solution architecture, you know, just consumption of those capabilities, monitoring of those capabilities, end-to-end suite is what, you know, Airtel has developed as well. And it, you know, takes the headache, because I can tell you this, with the team that I have, it's not easy to retain talent. As I said, this isn't a technical problem anymore, security, you know. In fact, a lot of the solutions that are now in the market, like cloud, I know, you know, a lot of people don't invest in the cloud because the concern is, hey, it's not secure. I can tell you for a fact that cloud is a lot more secure. But you need to have the right talent who can configure it for you. Versus, you know, data centers and legacy networks that were built out were not as secure. 5G has a lot of the capabilities from a security perspective already built in. The awareness that has been created because of the number of attacks that have happened has brought that investment and the ability within the marketplace. And you know, what Airtel is really helping out with as the next level is that talent layer and the consumption of those capabilities that you can do from Airtel directly.
A quick question, what do you think will be the timeline if an enterprise opts for a SOC for deployment? How long it's going to take for deploying SOC or take SOC as a service?
I think it really depends on what you're looking to do, right? It could be, are you looking to implement a certain product? Are you looking to consume everything? It could be as quick as a 3 or 4 weeks of effort. You know, a lot of the products that we offer for our SMB marketplace have security already built in. So those are, you know, plug and play options that you don't even have to spend any time. But again, if you're going for if you're a larger, fast growing enterprise, you know, depending on the infrastructure that you may have in-house or the cloud capabilities that you may have invested in, it could be, you know, anywhere from a couple of weeks to probably a month or a couple of months.
Yeah. So similar question to you, Abhishek, if customer opts for a CPaaS solution or the Airtel IQ platform, what is the what's the timeline for implementation? Let's say for a 30-seater call center or a 20-seater call center with a simple workflow.
So I think there are two kinds of, am I audible? Yeah. There are two kinds of integration, right? So if you want to use, let's say a call masking product, or you want to use messaging product, the integration timeline is as less as 2 weeks. On the contact center, I would say anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks is what we typically take in terms of integration. Remember, we are essentially the infrastructure and the connectivity provider. Right? If you have to go install a contact center software, you know, the likes of Genesys or Avaya, they have a longer lead time, right? So from a solution point of view, we will never be on the critical path for a contact center software.
Okay, so it's going to be around 2 to 4 weeks is what is the timeline.
Yeah.
So Karthik, similar question to you. If I have multiple networks, if I want to opt for a network as a service, what do you think is the timeline we should look at?
Again, I would say 2 to 4 weeks, up to like say even 300 to 500 locations being covered pan-India. I would say Lakshadweep to Andaman, Kanyakumari to Kashmir. So you're talking about, just to give you an example, right? At the peak of pandemic, for one of, I think it's India's second largest bank. I can even take the name, Canara Bank. We did about 3,200 locations starting in mid of April, completed it in July. So this is 2020 I'm talking about. I'm just giving an actual customer name here, right? So this was for a fairly, I mean, it's probably think one of the most complex networks that Airtel and us did together, right? So you're probably the most complex one pan-India. So I would say 2 to 4 weeks, including any locations anywhere in India, I think is a good timeline.
Right, thank you. So what we heard today is that if any of the cloud calling solutions from the CPaaS, it's going to be within 2 weeks, and that all the features are inbuilt in terms of voice messaging and video as well. And when we move to the network, it's no more complex. We will be able to manage all the networks in a far more better and an organized way with security inbuilt. And what we heard from Varun is that while security is a key concern, but it can be managed in a more simplified and through a SOC service, right? Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us for this chat. I would just open up to the floor for any questions.
I think, Rama, thank you for that session. We'll park the questions for now because I think we are a little delayed on time. So let's begin with the next panel, and I'll try to cut it short, and then all of you can together from your places answer these questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if I can invite Mr. Sevak Nautiyal, Managing Director of Spark Technologies, and Mr. Vikram Kumar, the founder and CEO of Let's Track, onto the stage. Thank you. Vikram. एक चेयर, 3 चेयर. No, I'll just stand in. So, thank you for joining. This is Alok Shukla, the product head at Airtel Business. We have Mr. Vikram Kumar, founder and CEO from Let's Track. And then we have Mr. Sevak Nautiyal from Spark Technologies. I'll keep this short, I promise you. And maybe if I can begin with Vikram, you and Mr. Sevak, please take a moment to introduce yourself and also talk a little bit about your company and what you do, how fast you've been growing, and how business has been.
Hello, can you listen me?
Yeah.
Oh, my name is Sevak Nautiyal. I started a company in 1993, and it's almost 29 years. And we started company of rupees 80,000, and today is around 175 crore company. We have around 90 employees as on today. Company name Spark Technologies. We are based on Nehru Place. Our main business is the value-added distributions. We buy the product from the OEMs and add certain value with the products and sell it to the customer. That's our main business. Thank you.
How has been your journey in the last 1 year post-pandemic?
Oh, the post-pandemic, yeah, of course, it is a painful journey, no doubt on that. We lost a lot of our colleagues, and that is the most painful. Otherwise, yes, particularly in IT industry, top line wise, we lost some certain top line, but bottom line was okay. Because there is a lot of shortage of the product in the markets, and company like whatever we are buying, product was buying, before it come to a warehouse, price was escalating by 4 to 5%. And again, when we are placing the orders, until the time material come to us, still I think till the date, situation of the products is very tight in the market, particularly in our domain. So bottom line wise, we do not see any big challenge. But if you look forward from the top line wise, yes, it is a challenge. And more as a growth, because till the time you don't have a supply from the OEMs and OEMs, manufacturers, it is a problem still there.
Understood. Thank you so much for that. Vikram, if I can give you a moment to sort of introduce you and the company, how you've seen growth in the last couple of years.
So my name is Vikram Kumar. Thank you very much for having me. I had the company called Let's Track Limited. As a brand, what we believe that anything that moves needs tracking. So whatever any business, from sending a parcel to sending a food delivery to doing a courier or ordering a cab, you need tracking. And that's what we provide as a platform. As far as the company is concerned, we started back in 2016. 2017, like some of the solutions the gentleman there was offering, we had to maneuver and find ways of how to reduce costs and obviously don't lose customers and obviously not losing the top line business. So as a brand, we are a tech company, but we only focus on tracking. So चाहे आपके घर में बच्चा है, चाहे पेट है, चाहे आपके businesses हैं, sales team है, production है, anything. You just want to know where they are they safe, are they productive? And that's what we do as a company, as a brand. And in pandemic, some of the solutions, one of your colleagues told we had to do as well. So we had over 150 employees who used to service our customers. We realized that we've been paying them for the last 6 months, and obviously they've not been able to serve the customer because of the lockdown. We realized that we have to find a hybrid way, so we innovated and launched a service app where we now have, instead of having 150 trained technicians, we have a pool of 5,000 of them. And what we do is we pay them every day through UPI if they do the service, and we have built a system where everything is checked through the app only. So for example, the first step is the network's on, the GPS is coming, the SIM is on, the SIM is active, then checking if the wires are being connected correctly, the earthing and the wiring is done properly, because we do immobilization of cars and vehicles from the app. So we have to make sure that all the connections and the wires are connected properly. So what we did was we built an app where we empowered more than 4,000, 5,000 technicians, and we realized that people are there in the market, they just needed a medium, and we needed them and they needed us. So we are the first. So as far as we are also one of the biggest distributor of automobile products as well. So we have to find the way routes to the market as well. So to do that, we are, like one of your colleagues said, we built a platform again, which helped us to move. In fact, we got better than where we were, and we are now using only 5% of total cost, where we were paying a lot of money on employees and staff to do the same work.
Amazing. I mean, that's a story in itself. Alok, quick moment to introduce yourself, and also maybe sort of, both Sevak and Vikram spoke about how top line growth could possibly be affected by some of the investments in terms of technology, right? Maybe once you introduce yourself, if you can sort of bring out what you have been seeing across such organizations in terms of overall technology-led investments.
Sure. My name is Alok. I had the products and solution functions at Airtel Business. While most of you would relate Airtel or Airtel Business as not a startup, but trust me, in the times that we have seen, I pretty much feel the same as what my other colleagues just said. Pandemic, basically, the way we saw it, obviously on the personal front, as Mr. Nautiyal said, I think it was a tough phase for all of us, for our customers, for our families and all of that. On the business front, I think what changed was 2-3 directions. One, cloud adoption, I think that got accelerated. The way employees, offices work in terms of different locations, I think that got changed. And the security challenges that gets added because 1 and 2, I think they got changed. So the way network always used to be a basic starting point for anything, but the way this network started impacting businesses in terms of growth and what people started expecting out of it transformed completely. Simple things which I think Karthik also talked about how does your application perform better, how is it more secure, how is it more agile, and all of that. So I think over this phase, we totally reimagined network to something called as network as a service, which is essentially a software layer over the top of network, which helps you utilize better the network and any network, Airtel or non-Airtel. In reality, most of the time it works great, and we take pride in that to be one of the largest and best. But we all know realistically there are times when it doesn't work so well. And therefore, this layer of NAS is what covers that piece and what helps networks perform better, and perform better not in technology terms, but in simple terms of what impacts your business, which is how your applications perform better, how they're more secure, and how they're adapting to this hybrid culture or architecture of cloud, captive, and so on and so forth.
Got it. Thank you so much. You know, we have a couple of business leaders on the floor, and I wanted to sort of take this opportunity and from a business standpoint, right, not from an IT standpoint, both for Sevak and you. I wanted to check on, from the IT standpoint, what are those biggest challenges that you foresee in the next couple of years, right? Obviously, you will not take the lens of a CIO or a CTO or an IT head, but very much from a business operations standpoint, how do you sort of foresee some of those challenges for each of your businesses?
Yes, for me, चैलेंज जो मेजर आ रहे हैं वो पर्टिकुलरली एक आ रहा है कि जैसे सपोज आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग माई सेल्फ वी स्टार्टेड इम्प्लीमेंटिंग SAP. SAP को इम्प्लीमेंट करते हुए हमें 3 साल हो गए हैं एंड वी ऑलरेडी इन्वेस्टेड मोर देन 60 लाख रुपीज, ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी फॉर स्मॉल कंपनी लाइक अस. बट अभी तक हम SAP को प्रॉपर्ली चला नहीं पाए. वी आर रनिंग अ ड्यूल पैरेलल सॉफ्टवेयर्स. तो सिमिलरली जो टेक्नोलॉजी नई आ रही है, टेक्नोलॉजी क्योंकि हमारे जो सेकंड जनरेशन के जो बच्चे हैं, चिल्ड्रंस हैं, वो इतने जल्दी इंटरेस्टेड नहीं है टू ज्वाइन अस. एंड पर्सनली रनिंग द बिजनेस फ्रॉम सो लॉन्ग टाइम, अपने आप को उस लेवल पे लेके आना कि हम टेक्नोलॉजी को कैसे बेटर यूज़ कर सकते हैं, जैसे 5G हैं या अदर टेक्नोलॉजीज़ हैं, उसका यूज़ करके अपने बिजनेस को कैसे बढ़ाएं. ये चैलेंज जो है स्मॉल एंटरप्राइज में बना हुआ है कि ना हो इतना खुद, क्योंकि हमारे पास टाइम नहीं है उतना टेकी बनने के लिए. एंड जो आउटसाइडर या तो वो काम करके नहीं दे रहे हैं, क्वालिटी टू लो, अगर क्वालिटी अवेलेबल है भी तो दे आर आस्किंग टू हाई प्राइजेस. तो ये एक सबसे बड़ा जो चैलेंज है व्हिच वी आर फीलिंग एज ए स्मॉल कंपनी.
So, I mean, very valid point, right? Alok, on the same note, right? You've been in the IT industry for a long time now, and channel partner related problems continue to persist, right? Continuously. And one of the differentiators you had spoken about in one of our last roadshows was how your last mile is sort of, directly implemented or driven for some of your solutions by Airtel. If you could sort of throw some color on how this integration challenges are being solved through your implementation strategy.
Sure. I think there are 2 parts to this question. One part is obviously network continues to be core. So for somebody like Airtel, I think we firmly believe that that's always going to be the bedrock. So there's continuous and heavy investment that we continue to make in terms of all technology. So today, if you see in a geography like India, we would almost be present in 99% of the locations, either using fiber, 4G, and satellite, and all of that part put together. So I think that continues to the bedrock, and we continue to invest thousands of crores of that. The second part is the complexity part. Some of the things that, simple problems that you talked about, it involves, ecosystem is a big word and we use it or misuse it often, but you involve a OEM who provides a box, you involve a system integrator who does puts all the pieces together. You have your own IT team who manages this for you, and then you have the telecom. And I think the vision that we have is that we'll take all of this out, and that's why the name Network as a Service, because all of this is put as one service which is consumable. So you don't need to worry about managing 5 of those people's, different ecosystems and all of that, and everything is offered to you, all of that as a service. I think that's the second piece. Speaking about the third point that Mr. Nautiyal, I think, very validly points. So for example, and I'm using this as an example to explain better, something that we call as work from anywhere. So typically when you want to do things quickly, you want to have your stores up and running quickly, you want to roll out quickly and all of that, in the traditional environment, and Karthik talked about 6 months timeline to take a store live and so on and so forth, we've created something very, very simple, low cost called work from anywhere as an example, right? In which literally in the telecom world it's unheard of. There's nothing called as installation and commissioning. There's a box which gets couriered to any office location or home location or whatever. It comes pre-fitted with a SIM card. Any other connection, Airtel or non-Airtel, from our friends, that's available, goes into the system. The moment internet's there, it's up and running, centrally visible. It helps you get the best of any network that's available. So your output improves. You get a central visibility. And what it fundamentally does is, it reduces your whole installation commissioning timeline to practically a courier timeline. And rest is the software configuration piece, which is pre-fed. So if you are rolling out 1,000 locations in the country, you don't have to do 1,000 configurations. There's a template. You want 900 locations to be category A, the balance 100 in category B. There's a template. The moment those boxes are plugged, you push a button and it's up and running. Nothing great, nothing rocket science, but again, something which simply solves the problem that Sir just talked about a while ago. So I think this is how we look at it, Ashwin.
So basically, the adaptation or the implementation process has to be more simplified in absolutely any innovation that we get to see. Right, Vikram, on again the same note, let's take your example of Let's Track, right? Now, for you to be extremely successful as you continue to grow, your network, your connectivity, all of that absolutely needs to have resiliency built into it, right? And dependability, which Alok was speaking about. As a business leader again, as you continue to accelerate the growth of your company, are there any major challenges that you foresee on this particular front?
Just to answer the first question, which you guys were saying, for me, so I always talk to my team as well that when I'm in India, 8 घंटे की flight लेने के बाद आप land करो इंग्लैंड में, आपको लगता है कि दुनिया बदल गई आपकी. So you leave here in the morning and you reach there in the afternoon or mid-afternoon. So you realize that your life changes. And what I've seen over the years, traveling over 200 times or 300 times, that the world changes and how suddenly, there's a different world where the world is run completely differently. We talk about here, network and network and network. In England, you talk about speed, speed, speed. Just to give you an idea, there's a debate in the parliament from last 6-7 years now that every 1 kilometer of speed on a motorway adds to £5 billion worth of revenue in the economy. So what they are saying is, आज की डेट में इंग्लैंड में 70 miles per hour की स्पीड पे गाड़ी चलती है. They have been legislation which is trying to pass कि 90 miles hour की स्पीड कर दो, इकोनॉमी में $70 billion का benefit होगा. If I, copy that to the network, if I can increase the connectivity is one thing, which you got the network there, but then if you can increase the speed, it effectively increases the productivity in billions and billions of dollars. So, and I believe air traffic, road traffic, and network traffic is exactly the same thing. I worked for telecom. I started my career with Airtel back in 2002. And the only one thing which Airtel has made money on and survived, Geostorm and other storm, 501 रुपए का फोन भी आया था 2004 में, तब भी अंबानी जी ने कुछ करने का सोचा था. The only way they survived is because of network and solutions you guys are offering today. Because you can tomorrow build a network, but to create that network and to create the products you have created, it takes a lot of time and experiences like people like them who know what is actually required on the street. So I can bring $50 billion, launch a new tower right next to your North Tower, but the solutions and the services and the productivity is the one which will make a difference. And that's where you guys are way ahead of competition. And that's why you hold 50% of the market share as well. And I think that is one thing from Mr. Mittal from day one when I was an executive in your company, was focused on tower, network. And today also, I think you only focus on how to make sure that, and you only survived, I always believe that you only survived Geostorm and Vodafone didn't, because of the network. And that's one of the reasons. I think that's one of the key reasons why you are ahead of competition, and you will always remain if you keep innovating, because smaller companies and even new enterprise, they need unique and quick solutions. They have connectivity, they have network, but they need solutions and they need speed. And the next revolution will come in 5G, 6G, and 7G. And that's when you will see the huge difference of, I was at a restaurant trying to send an email, and I say, you know what, if I'm wasting 20 minutes sending an email, and if I'm being paid by a company, let's say 1,000 rupees a day, and I work 8 hours a day, अगर मुझे आधा घंटा एक email को भेजने के लिए लगता है, that's 100 rupees to a company. And if I have 1 million employees or 1,000 employees, imagine how much loss of productivity. So same road analogy, and I think, again, if we increase the speed of the connectivity, you will see the productivity increasing and cost savings and benefits will happen like it has happened from 3G to 4G.
I think,
Ashwin?
Yeah, please go on.
If I may just
Please.
add to the audience on just one point where I'll put it differently. Yes, network definitely has been the core at Airtel. It's been a bread and butter business, but that's technology, and that can never be a differentiation. I think why Airtel survived was that we were grounded and we were focused, I think, on our customers, and thanks to all of you and all of our other customers, which is why I think we've survived because of our relentless focus and connect with the customer, not so much the network per se. Thanks, Ashwin. Over to you.
Understood. Thank you so much for each of your insights, some of the challenges that were highlighted, and some of very insightful, Vikram, what you spoke about, right? Solutions, unless they are innovated on, the network dependability or connectivity, etc., may not be of full utilization, right? So very deep insights. Thank you so much for that. I sort of wanted to take questions from the audience. We have around 8 to 10 minutes left on time. You can get back to your seats. But I want to use this time to sort of speak to... thank you. Yeah, please.
I want to say thank you, Airtel, and particularly my belief system say, where Airtel can make more money, Airtel is business. Once more closely you go to the business, and there is a money. And more money you can earn, and it's good initiatives, and particularly I see is $1 billion of opportunities, and hope Airtel will capitalize it. And one good thing I want to tell you, okay, there is opportunity I find out in 2004, when I was sitting with the Sunil Bharti Mittal, and at Hotel Lalit, that time is called Hilton, and they say ki, there is a lot of discussions कि आपको IP telephony लानी चाहिए, voice सस्ती होनी चाहिए. This was the discussion was there. Sunil Bharti Mittal was saying कि नहीं, आपको जो mobile phone है, it should be a 1 rupee and 2 rupee kind of per minute cost. That time it was 8 rupee and 10 rupee kind of cost. Okay, हम सोच रहे थे सुनील भारती साहब क्या बात कर रहे हैं? How it is possible? So it was possible. Same thing, the initiative you have taken for the Airtel Business. I hope that it is again possible that you can bring the lot of growth to the Indian economy and small businesses. And I believe once small businesses will grow, India will grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vikram. And yeah, thank you. So we have Vikram still in the room. We have Mr. Sevak still in the room. We also have the previous fireside panelists also sitting here with us. We have Karthik, we have Harish, Rama, Alok is here. We have around 10 minutes. So wanted to use this time for any sort of questions, because questions are extremely important. Individually, when you have a conversation, it is just between you and the other person. But a lot of people might want to listen to some of the discussions that happen here, right? They might not be very conversing. So questions in an open forum are extremely important. So first question from anybody? We have network as a service that we had discussed today, connectivity, we've discussed Airtel IQ in terms of collaborations, efficiency between employees, multiple topics that we have discussed today.
Just a general question. What is Airtel's plan for 5G rollout?
Airtel's plan for 5G rollout.
Yeah, I think I previously tried to cover that. So obviously there is a dependency on the government process, and at the end of the day, whatever I say, I mean, it is a speculation at the end, but from Airtel's standpoint, I think the way we are seeing it, it will happen in this financial year. Second part is, I think a lot of the use cases, a lot of the applications, small and big, that we are working on, that we have developed so far, are all 4G ready. So from our readiness standpoint, both on the network as well as some of the new use cases that get unlocked, I think we are ready. The actual rollout, the way we are anticipating will happen in this financial year, for sure. Having said that, again, I'm not representing Government of India here, so it is still a process that the government, will unwind. So I think that's it. Thank you.
More questions? Here.
Mr. Harish spoke about burst of cloud. What will happen if the cloud bursts with the 5G coming and 6G coming and the storage and data will be so fast? Any options Airtel have searched on that? Some sort of, instead of cloud, some ocean thing?
So look, I think, can you hear me? Okay. So what we basically were saying is that when companies look at cloud as an option, right, there's one option that you move your entire data and all applications to the cloud. The second is that you use cloud only for the additional requirements or additional loads that you end up having on peak days or peak times during the days, right? Or peak days of the month, etc., right? And at that point in time, cloud generally becomes, from a costing perspective, more user-friendly, right? So that's what we meant by burst to the cloud. 5G, 6G will improve your speed of upload and download when you kind of get there. But we realize that a lot of customers who kind of burst to the cloud today, they don't really use 5G, 6G to do it. They will use a lease line or SD-WAN or MPLS connectivity to kind of do that, right? So we don't see, if you use 5G, yes, if you're using 4G today and use 5G, it will be faster. But otherwise, we don't see a different impact.
But you have to plan for next,
Yes.
How do you plan, when cloud gets full? I mean, there's no more.
Can I add?
Cloud, yeah, okay.
So there are two things to it. One is
we have gone to cloud because of lot of data and lot of storage problems, So a day will come when cloud will also get full. Even Google is also adding up multiple supercomputers and other things. So Airtel should also plan on that lines.
So I think there are two parts to it. One from a network perspective. So NAS that we talked about is cloud ready. It's actually multi-cloud ready, hybrid cloud ready. I mean, we have lots of customers who are actually deploying it in that fashion. So it need not be just Google Cloud or Azure or AWS. You could use all the three. And it's the network seamlessly connects. So that's one part of it. Second thing, the good thing about NAS is it's actually transport agnostic. So there is a continuous return on investment. So it's not like you're stuck to a kind of transport. You can augment with any new kind of transport, including 5G as it gets rolled out. That's the second thing. Third thing about cloud getting full, that will be a nice problem to have because there is elasticity. So what I would encourage is if you see your cloud costs going up, look at your usage patterns, right? Look at for what are you using the cloud, and there is a lot more options available today in terms of how do you want to kind of host your applications, right? Hybrid is always a good strategy, in my opinion, because one of the issues with public cloud like AWS or Azure or GCP is runaway costs on the cloud. You really don't know how the costs simply scale up because putting governance in is again a talent issue that we discussed before. So look at it from a short answer is look at it from a hybrid strategy. Starting from a colo to using a local provider to using a hyperscaler, I think you need all the three. That's where I think you can have a conversation on Airtel Cloud as well. And the NAS comes ready with it in terms of actually supporting you in all those journeys that you take.
I think if the question was, I'm not really sure if I got it, but if the question was, what is Airtel doing for a state as clouds are growing and hypothetically if a cloud is full? So on the infrastructure piece, some of these largest clouds that we all know of actually reside in Airtel's data center infrastructure, which is by the brand name of Nextra. Over the next 3 years, there's almost $1 billion investment plan from an Airtel standpoint. And Harish talked about the mega data centers going from 12 to 18. There's a 50% increase. I think all of that is preparing Airtel for that readiness of cloud really expanding. It's a theoretical thing, but on the infrastructure side, obviously rest of it is all machines. But on the data center side, and similarly the connectivity and NAS that Karthik talked about, so that's the plan. There's almost a multi-fold increase in terms of our capacity, and all of these new mega data centers, a few megawatts that are coming up. 12 of them are already live. Within the next 24 to 36 months, this number will go to 36. So that's the plan for cloud support, basically, if I can answer your question.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question. Your name and company, please.
Hi, myself, Komal Panwanda. I am from Niti. And being a SME, we can move our data to cloud. We can use SaaS to just use the software. But is there any solution with the Airtel to secure my network? Like we are still, having that ransomware attacks, and we have to use some firewalls, and then these antiviruses, and then this technology guy to manage everything. So, is there any solution with the Airtel to that overcome these issues? Thank you.
Sir, the small answer is, if I may, without sounding funny, actually we have all the solutions. Is the short answer. So both the network security and in bits and pieces we covered previously, firewall as a service, DDoS as a service, endpoint security, and what I think Varun talked about was that the number of devices that you're trying to secure, managing that from Airtel's Security Operations Center that we talked about. So in terms of the product ranges, obviously there's a very big range of products across network, endpoint, etc. that we still manage. I think the biggest problem that we try and solve for our customers is that today you have a capability and a set of products that you have finally, after long efforts, build up. Tomorrow that technology changes. You change a firewall vendor, etc., etc. And which is why for our customers, we don't want them to bother that my UTM contract is coming up for renewal and now should I change to a different. Therefore, it is offered as a service so that if our customers decide at the end of 12 months, 24 months to simply switch over from A to B, from Airtel, you can do that. So the answer to your question is yes, each of these services that you touched upon are offered standalone as well as integrated with our network service offerings. We also manage all of that remotely from the Security Operations Center. And all of this is offered as a subscription service so that you don't have to deal with the decision of both CAPEX as well as change in technology. That answers your question.
You have a follow?
Unfortunately, I think your marketing team is not doing that job to, we are not aware about that solution that Airtel have.
No, that's a fair feedback. My apologies for that and feedback taken. I think we need to.
So today, I think, like Harish mentioned, this whole setup was to create more engagement so that all of you understand some of these solutions because they are relevant in the market condition, right? Whatever you asked, you are facing in your organization. You have at least 10 leaders from Airtel today. You have multiple account heads, circle heads here. Each of them has in-depth knowledge of all such questions. Please use this opportunity to check up with them. Any questions? We've had one on security, one on network as a service. We've had one on cloud. Any others? Come on, questions are extremely important. No hands up. In Bangalore and Mumbai, we've had Just questions and questions and questions. Delhi is losing out. Any questions? All right, silent audience. So let me you had a question? You put up your hand and I thought you had a question. No? So let me put an end to this particular panel discussion. I think we've had a lot of insight today. We have the closing remarks before dinner for us, but I wanted to thank all the panelists here today for taking all these questions and detailing out answers for this. And that's all from my side before I hand it over to the Circle Head of Airtel for Delhi and allow him to do the closing remarks. But like I said, this is an opportunity created for you to know more about these solutions. Once we have the dinner open, please feel free to have these one-on-one conversations about these solutions and more that you want to talk about. Thank you so much from my side. Can we have the closing remarks, please? Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much to all of you for taking out time today and coming here and giving us an opportunity to interact with all of you on this platform. I would also like to thank all of you for patronizing Airtel for the years. I was interacting with some of you outside, and one of you said, I've been using your service for the last 18 years. I can tell you, this is what Alok also shared. It is because of the faith that all of you reposed in Airtel that where we are today. And I want to thank extremely, from the bottom of my heart, that the storm that you all said, that we had in the telecom industry for the last 5-6 years, and we were able to weather that storm is only because of the strong credentials that we had with our customers. And of course, the confidence that our customers, which is all of you, you repost with us. Another thing, which again I would like to take a clue from what Alok shared is, our numbers would look that we are a large organization, but we've always worked like a startup. We've always worked like a mindset of a small organization. And why I say this is a small example which Abhishek shared. If there was a 30-seater call center who wanted us to evolve and help them out, we were there to evolve at the back end to ensure, that we give a solution to them rather than telling them, this is how it is or this is how it works. So that is our, inherent, mindset that we work as per the needs of our customers. And we continue to do that, and we'll ensure that we continue to do that. I agree with the point which was raised, by one of our gentlemen that your teams don't know, and we don't know that you sell this. And this is a challenge that, I am also facing in the market when I meet customers. And when I tell them, these are all the products, what all Harish shared today, all the product lines that we run today, and most of our customers don't know that we do this, right? And let me tell you, there's a challenge with us also, we also don't know as to what our customers are doing today. So I think this platform today is primarily to make sure, that we kind of maybe move 2%, 3% or 5% in making sure that we tell you, these are all things that we do. And we interact over you and see, what is it that you are doing, and we can enable, your business to take it forward. So this platform today is basically for our understanding of, how can we help you over here, right? So not taking much of the time, I would urge, over next 1-2 hours that we are here, I would request, we have our entire team over here. I would request my sales team to please stand up. Please, if you can stand up. Thank you very much. So these are all the people in the team who would be working very closely with all of you, making sure that, we kind of bridge that gap of what we do and how we can enable, your businesses to maybe run a little better by the way what we all can do from the telecom domain. So these team members will be available with you. Of course, I'll always be available. Again, thank you very much. So please sit down. One last thing I would like to share, the point Mr. Nautyal shared, that what is in it for small organizations? I can tell you, I've seen over last 3-4 years, small organizations building to medium size, building to a large size. And I think I have that confidence in me in telling, that we worked very closely along with them in the journey that they have traveled. And if you ask me, I can tell you the names over dinner. So I guess small to medium to large is just a journey, and we would love each one of you to move to move through that journey from maybe a small or a mid-sized segment to becoming a large segment. And we would like to, walk along with you that journey in making sure that we enable, whatever we can from the telecom domain on that journey along with you. So thank you very much. Once again, I want to thank Vikram and Mr. Nautyal for sharing your thoughts. And maybe we can have such meetings, informal meetings over the next, couple of months, or maybe in the next quarter. We would love to do it. But thank you very much once again for coming today.
Thank you everyone for attending this beautiful event. I would request everyone to please proceed for dinner and cocktails. Thank you so much.